The movie begins at the CIA headquarters in Langley, Virginia. Agent Vivi DeLay meets the director and another individual concerning their next target, Wolfgang Braun, called the Wolf. Along with his partner, the albino, he is trying to sell weapons to terrorists. The guys task Vivi with eliminating both of them. She inquires which agent is on the field and learns it's Ethan Renner. We see Ethan in a hotel in Serbia as he and another agent named Yasmin are gearing up to take down the albino, who is going to strike a deal with the Serbians. Ethan has already killed the buyers, and quickly scans albino's suitcase which contains the secret codes. When he's about to give them out to other agents in a van, he receives a reminder on his phone that it's his daughter Zoe's birthday. Ethan rushes to a pay phone and puts up his watch's credit with a nearby shop to get some change. Meanwhile, the agents scan albino's suitcase and learn he is carrying an explosive. Ethan calls Zoe, but it goes straight to her voicemail. In the hotel, Yasmin's identity is exposed when albino recognizes her. He drags her towards an elevator and waits for it to come down and kill her. His men begin shooting at the agents in the vehicle, resulting in a shootout that extends across the lobby area to outside the hotel, followed by a massive explosion. Ethan pursues the albino, killing all of his guards before pursuing him. Ethan becomes weak and exhausted as he closes in on the albino. He collapses before firing albino on his foot. As Ethan falls unconscious, he limps off. Ethan wakes up in the hospital and is told by a doctor that he has cancer that has spread throughout his lungs. He believes that Ethan has around 5 months to live. A man comes over from the CIA, who terminates Ethan for not being operational and informs him they wired his pension to his account. When Ethan arrives at his apartment, a man named Jules welcomes him, and his family is living there. Jules informs him that they are refugees looking for a new home. He tries to complain about them to the police, only to learn they can't do anything about it, but warns that if he forces the family to leave, he will be jailed. Ethan returns home and pulls his revolver in front of Jules, but then sees his pregnant daughter and allows them to stay until she gives birth to her child. Ethan calls his ex-wife Tina, who refuses to meet him in person until he states it's extremely important. They go to sign his will together, and he informs her that he is sick and dying. He wants to tell Zoe later as he wants to be with her in his last days. Tina agrees on one condition, that he must be done working for them, and Ethan says yes. They head to Zoe's school to meet her. Her meeting with her dad is unpleasant, and she appears uninterested in having a conversation with him. They are approached by a boy named Hugh, and Zoe introduces him to Ethan, but he is naturally uneasy. Hugh departs, and Ethan gifts Zoe a purple bike, believing it to be her favorite color, but she refuses and decides to take the subway with her friends, and Ethan is left to ride the bike by himself. Ethan comes to a halt and is greeted by Vivi. She mentions Zoe and shows him the watch he left as collateral. She convinces him to join her on the ride, telling him he must work for her. He won't say anything until she reveals she has an experimental medicine that can save his life. Ethan reconsiders, and Vivi informs him that his mission is to find and kill the wolf. Vivi brings Ethan to a hotel in search of a man who may direct them to albino's accountant. She assures Ethan there's just one man in there, but when he breaks into their target's room, he discovers 5. When no one provides him with any information, they end up killing everyone. Ethan informs her in the elevator that he will only complete the job if he is granted $50,000 and a $1 million life insurance policy. She agrees and injects him with the drug. Somewhere else, albino meets a man and hands him the details of Ethan to keep an eye on him. When Ethan arrives at Tina's place, he hears Zoe screaming. He smashes the doorknob and bursts in, believing she's in danger, only to discover she's outraged about a horrible haircut. Tina is upset with Ethan since he promised to cook supper and is now 3 hours late. She has a business trip to London the next day and chooses to hire someone to watch over Zoe, but Ethan wants to take care of her. Later that night, Ethan begins to feel dizzy and faints. He calls Vivi and informs her that he is hallucinating. She suggests he have some vodka to relax, and he gets better after that. Tina leaves the following morning, and Zoe comes out wearing a red wig. When she notices Ethan is getting a call from Vivi, he informs her that Vivi is his boss. Ethan attempts to persuade Zoe once more to ride her bike to school, but she prefers to walk and loses the wig. Ethan runs into Vivi again. She hands him the check she promised him and tells him to maintain a low heart rate. She sends Ethan to find a vehicle seller called Mithat Yilmaz. Ethan goes to the dealership, taunts and knocks out Mithat's employees, and then waits in Mithat's office until he arrives. Ethan threatens Mithat's family and brings him to his apartment until he receives a phone call from Zoe's principal, who wants to meet him in person to have a conversation about Zoe's behavior. He drags Mithat along and puts him inside the trunk. Ethan and Zoe have a meeting with the principal. He discovers that Zoe attacked another student. Ethan asks if it is a clenched fist or an open palm. As they get to the car, Zoe informs Ethan that she slapped the girl because she was mocking a Pakistani girl. Ethan replies he's not angry and is proud of her for standing up for her friend. Meetat begins to make a scene in the trunk, prompting Ethan to punch him and make him stop. Zoe leaves him, annoyed by his actions and continuous coughing. She later calls him to apologize and invites him to meet her at her favorite location, a little theme park with her favorite ride, the flying chairs. Although Ethan first intends to continue his search for the accountant, he changes his mind and leaves to meet Zoe. They go on the ride and drink hot chocolate after. She informs him that she must go to her friend's place to study. When Ethan walks inside a store, a guy enters with a shotgun and shoots Ethan, but he bounces back unharmed as he is wearing a vest, and the two fight. The guy almost kills Ethan by cutting him in the neck, but he is shot and dies as a result. Ethan then discovers that the man is holding a picture of himself. Ethan returns home and goes through Zoe's computer to find a note from a friend claiming they will meet at the tattoo gallery. Ethan gets worried and goes to this location and discovers a car with Zoe's backpack. He breaks into it and discovers a brochure for a place named Spider. He arrives at Meetat's house and asks the man's daughters about Spider. They inform him that it is a soiree house. Ethan visits Spider, a nightclub, and notices Zoe drinking with her friends. He becomes sick again and takes a drink of vodka to calm down. He follows Zoe to the restroom and finds 3 men harassing her. Ethan gets stopped by a boy's friend, but he quickly shows them what he's made of and thrashes them all before leaving with Zoe. She wakes up the following morning with no recollection of that incident. She still wears her party dress and prepares to leave for school, but Ethan advises her not to. He tells her to ride the bike to school, but she furiously tells him he was never there to teach her how to ride. He spends that morning teaching her how to ride. Zoe then tearfully asks why he's been gone for so long. She suspects he has a second family and has another daughter, but he informs her that it is not the case. While returning home, Zoe admits hitting the girl at school as she is hitting on Hugh. Ethan eventually finds the accountant, Guido, and follows him through the streets. Ethan fires a tear gas grenade into the car, shoots the guards before driving Guido away, and blows up the other car. He brings Guido to his flat to replace the briefcase he had with codes set to trigger the explosives possessed by the wolf and the albino. Zoe calls to inform Ethan that she will be cooking dinner for Hugh and that she wishes to prepare a vegetarian dish. Ethan asks Guido to tell Zoe about his mother's spaghetti sauce recipe. That evening, Ethan returns home to discover Jules's daughter in labor. She had a healthy baby girl, whom she named Ethan in honor of him allowing them to stay in his house. Jules says they have to leave, but Ethan says they can stay as long as they want, but Jules claims that the family likes a smaller house in order to be closer to one another. Ethan returns to Zoe and discovers that Hugh has invited her to prom, but she tells him she cannot dance. Ethan then teaches her how to dance just as Tina returns home. She is moved to tears as she watches them dance. They have dinner together as a family, and Tina later reminds Ethan that he should tell Zoe about his illness sooner or later. They eventually sleep together. Vivi calls Ethan to inform him that Albino is at the Grand Hotel. Ethan arrives at the hotel and notices the wolf. Meetat drives them in his vehicle. Ethan pursues them, ramming into the car and pushing them over the footbridge. Ethan saves Meetat so that he may return to his family, while the wolf and the albino escape. Ethan follows them underground, where he gets a nosebleed and becomes sick. The albino drags the partially conscious Ethan onto the train tracks to get him killed by the train. He waits for the train as the wolf orders him to shoot Ethan. Fortunately, Ethan regains enough momentum to pull Albino out in front of the train just before it passes. Ethan calls Vivi before he collapses, and the wolf runs away. He wakes up to find Vivi has brought him to her home. She informs him that Wolf escaped, but tells him about the lab results and that the drug is having a positive effect on him. Ethan joins Zoe and Tina for a party at Hugh's house, where he introduces his parents, and Ethan gets to meet their business partner, who is none other than the wolf. They recognize each other and shake hands awkwardly. Hugh's parents accompany them all to the club. Tina ultimately understands Ethan is working on a task. She suspects he's been lying to her, but he tells her he isn't. Ethan flees as Wolf's guards open fire on him. He takes them one by one before trapping the wolf in an elevator. He shoots the elevator's cables, forcing it to fall and crash to the ground. Meanwhile, Hugh and Zoe get to a secret room where they dance and enjoy their first kiss. Ethan discovers the wolf crawling out of the elevator. He begins to feel weak once again and is unable to shoot him. He drops the gun, but Vivi soon arrives and pushes it to Ethan to end it. He hesitates for the sake of Tina and Zoe and drops the weapon. Vivi then shoots the wolf herself. A few months later, Ethan continues to live with Zoe at home near the shore. He's putting up a Christmas tree since he believes he won't survive to see it, and we hear him talking to Tina about how they've had hard days but continue to work to keep the connection strong. Tina arrives one day, and Ethan admits he isn't always around as he should have been. Zoe approaches to take her mother in so Ethan may prepare them hot chocolate. Zoe asks Tina if Ethan will stick around, and Tina says as long as he can. Meanwhile, Ethan discovers a box with a huge injection and a Christmas greeting from Vivi. She gave him the medicine so he could continue to spend his days with his family. Vivi stood in the distance, glancing at him in his house. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe, and turn on notifications to watch more videos like this.